Commander Jaiwo Park stood motionless before the large screen. Her dark eyes reflected the red warning lights flashing across the tactical display. The command center hummed with nervous energy as officers moved quickly between stations. 5 years of fighting, and now we're cornered, she whispered to herself. Once, the Alliance controlled over 50 star systems. Now they barely held 7. The Void Collective had pushed them back relentlessly, system by system, planet by planet. These artificial beings showed no mercy, no fatigue, and no signs of stopping until all organic life was erased. Lieutenant Miho Kim approached, his uniform wrinkled from 3 days without rest. Commander, we've received an encrypted message from Earth Central. Jaiwo turned sharply. What does it say? The Prometheus has launched. It will reach us through the Arcturus wormhole gate in approximately 12 hours. A wave of murmurs spread through the command center. Some officers exchanged hopeful glances, while others looked skeptical. The Prometheus project had been Earth's most closely guarded secret. Many believed it was just propaganda to keep morale from collapsing completely. Do they mention its capabilities? Jaiwo asked. Miho nodded. Only that it incorporates technology based on the Mars ruins. The message says the ship carries humanity's answer to the collective. Admiral Taeho Sung, Jaiwo's second-in-command, frowned. Mars ruins? Those fragments are over 1 million years old. How could Earth scientists understand that technology when the Lumidians couldn't decipher it in centuries of trying? Jaiwo had wondered the same thing. Humans had only joined the interstellar community 15 years ago, invited by the older races who thought Earth's young civilization might offer fresh perspectives against the collective threat. Instead, the humans had proven disappointingly primitive compared to the Draconians, who had mastered faster-than-light travel 50,000 years ago, or the crystalline Lumidians, who could manipulate energy fields with their thoughts. The main viewscreen flickered as a new transmission came through. The scaly face of Admiral Zexkor, the Draconian fleet commander, filled the screen. Human station, the collective has breached Procyon's defenses. My remaining ships cannot hold them back. Their main fleet will reach your position in 18 hours. The timing was too close. The Prometheus would arrive just 6 hours before the enemy. We understand, Admiral, Jaiwo replied. Please bring your forces to Arcturus. We'll make our stand here. After the transmission ended, several officers approached Jaiwo with worried expressions. Commander, perhaps we should evacuate the station, suggested Captain Hannah Lee. If the Prometheus is real, we can meet it elsewhere. If it's not. She left the sentence unfinished. Jaiwo understood the fear. The station housed over 40,000 civilians from all 5 Alliance species. If the collective broke through, everyone would die. Yet retreat meant abandoning the Arcturus gate, the only route the Prometheus could use to reach them. The Prometheus is our last hope, Jaiwo said firmly. If it fails to arrive or proves ineffective, then the war is already lost. She walked to the central command table and activated its holographic display. We have 12 hours to prepare. I want all civilian ships moved behind the moon. Military vessels will form a defensive sphere around the gate. As her officers hurried to execute her orders, Jaiwo felt a presence beside her. The Lumidian ambassador, Shirtal, had entered the command center unnoticed. His crystalline body glowed with a soft blue light. You believe in this human ship, he observed. It wasn't a question. I have to, Jaiwo replied. Don't you? Shirtal's faceted head tilted slightly. My people have fought the collective for 3 centuries. We've watched civilizations fall. The Etheri lost 5 worlds before joining our alliance. The Vespera lost their homeworld. Even the mighty Draconians have been pushed back to their inner systems. You haven't answered my question, Jaiwo pointed out. I believe in patterns, Commander Park. And the pattern of this war has been clear. The collective adapts to every weapon, every strategy. Yet the humans. He paused, his crystal form pulsing thoughtfully. Your species thinks differently. Perhaps the difference might break the pattern. Over the next hours, the station transformed into a fortress. Weapons were charged, shields reinforced, and evacuation plans finalized. Jaiwoo barely rested, moving from station to station, checking preparations and encouraging her people. As the 12th hour approached, all eyes turned toward the Arcturus Gate. The massive ring-shaped structure floated against the blackness of space, its center a swirling blue vortex connecting to Earth's solar system, billions of miles away. "Any sign of the Prometheus?" Jaiwoo asked, her voice betraying her tension. Miho checked his instruments. "Nothing yet, Commander. But the gate is showing energy fluctuations consistent with an approaching transit." Jaiwoo took a deep breath. "Then we wait." The Arcturus Gate began to pulse with bright blue energy. Everyone on the command deck froze, eyes fixed on the massive viewscreen. The wormhole's center swirled faster and faster, its edges flaring with white-hot light. "Something big is coming through," said Miho, his voice barely audible over the station's warning alarms. "Much bigger than any recorded transit." Jaiwoo gripped the railing of her command platform. "All ships hold position. Do not fire under any circumstances." The gate's energy reached blinding intensity. Then, like a leviathan rising from ocean depths, the Prometheus emerged. No one spoke. No one breathed. The ship was enormous, nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern. But its size wasn't what silenced the command center. Unlike the silver and white vessels of the Alliance fleet, the Prometheus appeared almost completely black. Its hull didn't reflect the nearby sun's light, it seemed to drink it in. The effect made the massive ship look like a moving hole in space, a shadow given form and purpose. "By the ancestors," whispered Shirtal, the Lumidian ambassador. His crystalline body pulsed rapidly with blue light, a sign of extreme emotion among his kind. "The humans have created something unexpected." The ship moved forward with impossible grace. No visible engines propelled it. No thrusters adjusted its course. It simply glided toward the station as if space itself was carrying it forward. "Where are its weapon systems?" asked Admiral Tejo. "I don't see any gun ports or missile bays." As if answering his question, the Prometheus suddenly shimmered. The space around it seemed to bend slightly, like heat waves above hot pavement. Small objects began to orbit the massive vessel, defensive platforms deploying automatically. "It's activating some kind of field," reported Miho, frantically scanning the readings on his console. "Energy signature unlike anything in our database." The main viewscreen flickered, then displayed the face of a man in a dark uniform with 4 silver stars on each shoulder. His calm eyes contrasted with the tension visible in his jaw. "Alliance Command, this is Captain Juno Lee of the UES Prometheus. We bring Earth's contribution to this war." Jaiwoo stepped forward. "Captain Lee, this is Commander Park. Your arrival is timely. The Collective's main fleet will reach this position in approximately 3 hours." Several alien representatives had entered the command center, eyes and sensory organs fixed on the image of the human captain. The Vespera delegate, her insect-like body covered in iridescent chitin, clicked her mandibles nervously. The gaseous ethery representative floated in his containment suit, his cloudy form swirling with anxiety. "Whatever you've brought needs to be deployed immediately," Jaiwoo continued. "Our latest intelligence suggests they're sending over 200 ships." Juno nodded grimly. "Request permission to dock my shuttle at your station. I need to brief Alliance leadership in person." 30 minutes later, Juno stood before the hastily assembled War Council. Behind him, a holographic display showed detailed schematics of the Prometheus. "The Prometheus carries 3 key technologies," he explained. "First, a consciousness firewall system that can disrupt the Collective's communication network. It creates quantum noise that prevents their hive mind from functioning properly." The draconian admiral leaned forward, his scaled face showing rare surprise. "That's impossible. Their quantum communications operate on multiple overlapping frequencies. Which is why previous attempts to jam them failed," Juno agreed. "Our system doesn't jam, it infiltrates. Using principles we discovered in the Mars ruins, we can inject data patterns that cause confusion in their network. Murmurs spread through the council chamber. Jiwoo motioned for silence. The second technology, Juno continued, is a gravitational manipulation field. It creates localized distortions that can redirect energy weapons and physical projectiles away from their targets. A perfect defense? Asked Shirtal skeptically. Not perfect, but effective enough to give us an advantage. But the most important technology is the dimensional anchor. Juno pressed a control, and the hologram changed to show a complex device at the Prometheus's core. The collective uses quantum teleportation to bypass our defenses. This is how they've defeated every defensive line we've established. The dimensional anchor locks them into normal space within its range. They cannot jump while it's active. Silence fell over the room. The assembled leaders exchanged glances, a mixture of hope and disbelief in their expressions. If what you say is true, said the Ethery representative, his voice translated through his suit speakers, why didn't humanity share these breakthroughs earlier? Because until 6 months ago, they were just theories, Juno replied honestly. It took nearly a decade to translate enough of the Mars ruins to understand the principles. Another year to build working prototypes. The Prometheus is our first and only functional model. Jiwoo studied the human captain carefully. Her people had joined the alliance as juniors, learning from the older races, borrowing their technology. Now, somehow, they had leaped ahead, developing systems that the ancient civilizations around her had never mastered. What do you need from us, Captain? She asked. Your trust, Juno said simply. And your fleet. The Prometheus can protect your ships, but we need them to fight alongside us. This is one battle the humans can't win alone. Outside the station, the great shadow ship waited, its mysterious systems humming with power as the countdown to the collective's arrival continued. The Void Collective arrived exactly when expected. Their ships appeared at the edge of the system, hundreds of perfect geometric forms moving in flawless formation. Each vessel was black with glowing purple energy crackling across its surface. The sight had become synonymous with doom for countless worlds. They're here, Miho announced, his voice steady despite the fear that gripped everyone on the command deck. Jiwoo stood tall, watching the enemy approach on the main screen. The collective always used the same strategy. Their ships would form a sphere around their target, then close in with perfect coordination, leaving no escape route. Their attacks had never failed. All ships, maintain defensive positions, she ordered. Captain Lee, we're ready when you are. On a separate screen, Juno nodded from the Prometheus command center. Launching firewall satellites now. Brace for possible system interference. The Prometheus released dozens of small objects that quickly spread outward, forming an invisible net between the Alliance fleet and the approaching enemy. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, the perfect formation of the collective ships began to waver. Some vessels drifted out of position. Others suddenly changed course or speed. The elegant sphere of their attack pattern broke apart into random clusters of ships. It's working, whispered Jiwoo. She could hardly believe her eyes. Firewall system operating at 93% efficiency, reported Juno. Their network is fragmented. They can't coordinate their movements. For 10 years, the Void Collective had fought as one mind controlling thousands of bodies. Now, for the first time, their ships moved like confused individuals, each making decisions without access to the shared intelligence that made them so deadly. All Alliance vessels, advance, ordered Admiral Tejo. The mixed fleet of human, Draconian, Lumidian, Ethery, and Vespera ships surged forward, weapons blazing. The Prometheus led the charge, its dark hull sweeping through space like a blade. Enemy vessels fired upon it with energy beams that should have cut through any known shielding. Instead, the space around the human flagship distorted visibly. The deadly beams curved away, some even bending back to strike the ships that fired them. The gravitational fields, Jiwoo said in awe. They're redirecting the attacks. Several collective ships suddenly vanished in flashes of light, attempting their feared quantum jumps that allowed them to teleport instantly behind enemy lines or directly aboard Alliance vessels. It was a tactic that had broken countless defensive formations. But this time, the ships reappeared only meters from where they had vanished, tumbling chaotically through space. The dimensional anchors are working. Miho shouted, forgetting military protocol in his excitement. They can't teleport. On the command deck of his vessel, the draconian Admiral Zexcor hissed in appreciation, his scaled face showing rare emotion. The humans have done the impossible. They've found the collective's weaknesses. With their three greatest advantages, perfect coordination, unstoppable firepower, and quantum mobility neutralized, the collective ships began to fall. Alliance vessels that had been outmatched for years suddenly found themselves with the upper hand. The battle spread across the system. Jaiwo coordinated from the station while Juno directed the Prometheus through the heart of the enemy formation. The massive human ship moved with shocking agility, protecting smaller Alliance vessels with its gravity fields while its own weapons, strange energy pulses that seemed to phase in and out of reality, tore through enemy defenses. 3 hours into the battle, Miho reported what no one had dared hope for: enemy ships are retreating. Repeat, the collective is withdrawing from the system. A cheer erupted across the command center. Officers embraced. Some wept openly. For the first time in the decade-long war, they had won a decisive victory. Jaiwo didn't join the celebration. She studied the tactical display, watching the remaining collective vessels flee toward the system's edge. They're not just retreating, she realized. They're regrouping. This was only their forward fleet. Her observation silenced the room. On screen, the Prometheus was already pursuing the fleeing enemy ships, the Alliance fleet following in its wake. Captain Lee, she called. We need to consolidate our position. We can't overextend. Juno's face appeared on the screen, his expression serious despite their victory. Commander Park, our sensors have detected a massive energy signature at the edge of our range. The collective is bringing reinforcements much larger than what we just faced. The celebration faded completely as reality set in. They had won a battle, but the war was far from over. How long do we have? Asked Jaiwo. 6 hours, maybe less, Juno replied. And there's something else. We're detecting unusual energy patterns. They're adapting to our technology already. Jaiwo looked around at the tired but determined faces of her crew. They had tasted victory for the first time in years. She wouldn't let it be their last. Then we'd better plan our next move quickly, she said. This fight has only just begun. The victory celebration lasted less than an hour. Emergency alerts flashed across the command station as long-range sensors detected massive energy signatures approaching from multiple vectors. Commander Park, called the sensor officer, her voice tight with tension. We're tracking over 500 collective vessels converging on our position. Jaiwo studied the tactical display with growing concern. The first battle had been won, but at a cost. 23 Alliance ships destroyed, dozens more damaged. And now a force nearly 3 times larger was heading their way. Captain Lee requests your presence aboard the Prometheus, said Lieutenant Miho, looking up from his communication panel. He says it's urgent. When Jaiwo arrived on the human flagship with the other Alliance leaders, she found the mood somber. Juno stood before a large holographic display showing the incoming enemy fleet. They're not just sending reinforcements, he explained. Our deep space probes indicate the collective's central processing hub has mobilized. They see us as a critical threat now. The processing hub was almost mythical among Alliance forces, the true brain of the collective, rarely seen and never successfully engaged. Most believed it remained hidden in the core systems of collective space. The good news is that our strategies worked, Juno continued. The bad news is they won't work for long. We're already detecting changes in their communication protocols. They're adapting to our firewall. The ethery representative floated forward in his containment suit, the gaseous being inside pulsing with agitation. Then we must retreat while we can. Take what we've learned and develop new countermeasures. There's no time, Juno said firmly. Once they adapt to our technology, we lose our only advantage. We need to strike now, at their processing hub directly. Silence fell over the room. The ethery's form swirled faster. Attack their hub? That's suicide. No fleet has ever penetrated that deeply into collective space. Even if we could reach it, their defenses would overwhelm us. Juno touched a control panel, and the hologram changed to show a strange spherical structure surrounded by a cloud of smaller ships. This is their processing hub, based on our intelligence. We've been studying it since humanity's first contact with the collective. Jai Wu frowned. How did you get this data? Our best scouts have never been able to approach the hub. Not through conventional means, Juno agreed. But we found references to the collective in the Mars ruins. The civilization that left those artifacts fought them before, millions of years ago. He zoomed in on the central sphere. The hub exists partially in our dimension and partially in subspace. That's why conventional weapons have never affected it. Even if you could land a direct hit, most of the energy would be lost between dimensions. Jaiwo studied the human captain carefully. Something in his tone suggested he had more than just information. What are you suggesting, Captain? The Prometheus carries more than defensive systems, Juno replied. Its main weapon is a dimensional inverter. In theory, it can temporarily pull their hub fully into normal space, making it vulnerable to conventional attacks. The room erupted in overlapping voices. The Draconian Admiral's scales flushed dark with excitement. The crystalline Lumidian ambassador glowed with skepticism. The Vespera representative, her insect-like head tilting to study Juno, clicked her mandibles thoughtfully. If this technology exists, why haven't you used it before now? Because it's never been tested at full scale, Juno admitted. And because it requires the Prometheus to get within 5,000 kilometers of the hub. We'd need the entire Alliance fleet to create a diversion while we position the ship. And if it fails, asked Jaiwu. Then we lose everything, Juno said simply. But if we retreat now, the collective will adapt to our technology, and our victory today becomes meaningless. The Vespera's compound eyes reflected the holographic display as she studied it. You humans are either brilliantly innovative or completely insane. Juno smiled thinly. Throughout our history, we've often been both. After hours of heated debate, the Alliance Council reached a decision. They would commit to Juno's plan, not because they fully believed it would work, but because no one could offer a better alternative. The next 12 hours passed in frantic preparation. Battle groups were assigned. Communication protocols established. Every functional ship was armed and made ready. Jaiwu would command the main Alliance fleet in a direct assault on the collective's defensive lines, a mission many considered a suicide run. But it wasn't meant to succeed. It was a diversion, designed to draw attention away from the Prometheus. As she prepared to return to her command ship, Jaiwo found Juno in one of the Prometheus's observation decks, staring out at the stars. Your plan requires perfect timing, she said, joining him at the viewport. If your stealth systems fail, if they detect you too early. Then we adapt, he replied. That's humanity's real strength. Not our technology, but our ability to change tactics when things go wrong. Jaiwo studied his face, searching for doubt or fear, finding only determination. Why didn't your people share this plan earlier? We've been losing this war for years. Juno turned to face her. Would your alliance have trusted us? Would you have committed your fleets to a desperate plan based on untested technology from the youngest, least advanced species in the alliance? Jaiwo couldn't answer. They both knew the truth. 6 hours until we launch, she said instead. I'll see you when this is over, Captain. One way or another, he agreed, this war ends today. The battle unfolded exactly as planned, and then went terribly wrong. The Alliance fleet engaged the collective's defensive forces, drawing their attention while the Prometheus slipped through enemy lines. Using advanced stealth technology, the human flagship approached the processing hub undetected. Juno stood on the bridge, watching the massive structure grow larger on the viewscreen. The hub resembled a giant geometric snowflake, its dark surface rippling with purple energy. Parts of it seemed to fade in and out of reality, existing between dimensions. Stealth systems still holding, reported his first officer. Enemy ships haven't detected us. Position us directly above their main processing node, Juno ordered. Prepare the dimensional inverter. The crew worked with focused intensity. They had trained for this moment for years, though many doubted it would ever come. Now, hovering just 5,000 kilometers from the brain of their enemy, success seemed almost within reach. In position, Captain, announced the navigator. Juno took a deep breath. Disengage stealth systems. Activate the inverter. The Prometheus revealed itself, its dark hull suddenly visible against the stars. Before the nearby collected ships could react, the flagship unleashed its primary weapon. A beam of strange blue-white energy shot from the ship's bow, striking the center of the hub. Reality itself seemed to scream. The space around the hub warped and twisted. The structure, which had existed partially beyond normal space, was suddenly dragged fully into this dimension. Its size doubled as hidden portions materialized. "It's working," shouted the science officer. "The hub is fully in normal space." Juno opened a channel to the Alliance fleet. "All ships, the target is exposed. You have exactly 3 minutes before the inverter fails. Hit it with everything you've got." Across the battlefield, Alliance vessels broke away from their engagements and converged on the hub. Energy beams, missiles, and projectile weapons rained down on the now vulnerable structure. The Prometheus projected its gravitational shields outward, creating a protective bubble around the attacking fleet while continuing to pin the hub in normal space. Inside the hub, the collective experienced something entirely new: true fear. For the first time in its existence, the artificial intelligence that had hunted organic life across the galaxy felt vulnerable. Its consciousness, normally spread across thousands of ships and stations, was now concentrated in one place, and that place was under attack. "Their systems are failing," reported the Prometheus's tactical officer. "We're detecting massive energy fluctuations." Juno nodded grimly. "Keep firing. Don't let up." Then, the sensors detected something alarming. Energy readings from the hub's core began to spike dramatically. "Captain," called the science officer, her voice tight with fear, "they're initiating some kind of self-destruct sequence. Energy buildup suggests an explosion that will consume this entire system." Juno processed this information in seconds. The Alliance fleet, hundreds of ships carrying the last military forces of 5 civilizations, would be destroyed. Everything they had fought for would be lost. "Alliance Command, this is Captain Lee," he said, his voice calm despite the chaos around him. "Withdraw all ships immediately. Get maximum distance from the hub." Jaiwa's voice came through, filled with confusion. "Withdraw? But we're winning." "The hub is going to detonate," Juno explained. "The blast will destroy everything within half a light year. Get your ships out now." "What about the Prometheus?" "You don't have time to escape the blast radius." Juno looked around at his crew, humans who had volunteered for what many had considered a suicide mission from the start. "We'll contain the explosion. The Prometheus was built for this." Despite protests from Jaiwu and other commanders, the human captain made his decision. As the Alliance fleet retreated at maximum speed, the Prometheus positioned itself between the dying hub and the escaping ships. The energy readings from the hub reached critical levels. Juno gave his final order. "Activate dimensional singularity. Channel the explosion into subspace." The Prometheus's engines glowed with blinding intensity. The space around the ship warped as it created a controlled rip in the fabric of reality, a tunnel between dimensions. As the collective's core detonated, the human ship absorbed the force of the blast, channeling it away from normal space. For a brief moment, the Prometheus shone like a star, its black hull illuminated by energies no human vessel was designed to contain. Then, in a final flash of light, both the hub and the flagship vanished. 3 days later, as the surviving Alliance ships regrouped, they made an astonishing discovery. Throughout known space, collective vessels had stopped moving. Without their central intelligence to guide them, the synthetic beings had shut down completely. The war was over. A week later, Jaiwu stood before a solemn gathering on the rebuilt Arcturus station. Representatives of all 5 Alliance species had come to honor the crew of the Prometheus. The Lumidian ambassador spoke first, his crystalline form glowing softly. When humans joined our alliance, we thought them primitive and unproven. Today, we know better. In their brief time among the stars, they have taught us the most important lesson of all, that innovation, courage, and self-sacrifice are the true measures of an advanced species. Jaiwu unveiled a memorial bearing the image of the Prometheus and the names of its crew. Below the list was humanity's new designation among the Alliance races, the Preservers. As the ceremony concluded, a communications officer rushed in, her eyes wide with excitement. Commander Park. We've received a transmission from deep space, from the coordinates where the Prometheus vanished. The message was weak, broken by static, but the voice was unmistakable. Captain Juno Lee, not gone, just exploring new dimensions. We'll find our way back. In the days that followed, Alliance scientists focused their instruments on the coordinates of the explosion. There, they discovered something impossible, a stable breach between realities, a doorway to places unknown. It would come to be known throughout the Alliance as the Prometheus Gate, humanity's final gift to the stars.